The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Okay, good evening everyone, and thanks for coming back to the real estate webinar. We're going through the 4-step series of the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and highlighting each foundational model. So tonight is going to be really focusing on the economic model, also known as the goal setting, running your numbers, knowing what it's going to be to keep track and have a successful year in 2013. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Again, this is webinar style, so if you have any questions, please put your hand up. You get a little hand in the right side, and you'll be able to prompt a question there. Also, you can type a question in. We can take care of it that way as well. So let's get started. Here we are. Some ground rules I want to go over is we're going to start right at 6 o'clock. We're going to end right as close to 7 o'clock as we can. Of course, if there's more engagement, then it might be a little bit later. If there's not much interaction, it might be a little bit sooner. So we're going to be always starting at 6 o'clock, so thank you for those who you are on time right now. Vegas rules. I want to open up and really have some dialogue with agents and people who are looking to be agents, or really any sales category, because this can be relevant to anybody. Ask questions, be vulnerable, be open, and let's really get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's make some breakthroughs. Vegas rules says what happens here stays here, and everyone knows it's a safe place. Engage with everyone with questions, comments. When you are engaging, mute yourself. If you have some background noise in the speakerphone, please take care of that for us. That we won't be interrupted. So right now we are having some pretty good clarity with that. And then finally, we've got be prepared to implement the strategies that were learned. So let's keep going. Economic model is what we're talking about. Last week we did the lead generation model, and some homework that you had last week was to organize your database, create some top allied resources. Any success stories out there with that? Anybody do that? And tell me about some success stories you had. Okay? Guess nobody had any success stories with that, so we'll keep on moving there. MREA models, we're going to go over those briefly, what they are, the 4 models that we'll be talking about until we get to the next further criteria. Talking about a formula to success. This is very simple. It's 4 steps. It can be applied to anything, whether you want to lose weight, drive a car, or build a real estate business. It's a quick formula to success. When you're working on the economic model, when you're working on your business plan, there's 3 key areas I want you to focus on. So we're going to focus on those 3 key areas. I'm going to tell you about the numbers you need to monitor. As a business owner, there are a lot of things you can worry about and look at in a real estate business, and there are some key ones which will be crucial to keeping your goals intact, realistic, and achievable. We're going to go over the listings needed formula. As we talked about last week a little bit, listings drive your business. With every listing, you get at least 1, possibly 2 extra transactions. It could be another listing. It could be a buyer who calls you on that listing, whether you sell that one or not. So listings to live. There are 3 key elements that Gary Keller says you are successful, and there are 3 L's: listings, leads, and leverage. So we're talking about the listings needed formula for you to hit your goals. And finally, we're going to go over a contact to close flowchart. We're going to say what it means and really look at what a business is, take away all the fluff, what it means with appointments, contacts, and leads down to a closing. Okay? So here we go. The economic model you'll find on page 129 through 132 in that red book. So if you have a copy of the MREA model book, go ahead and open it up to that, make some references. And also again on page 175 to 184. So a lot of what I'll be talking about is coming right from that book. Not everything, because I am taking this from different sessions that I've learned through my time in real estate. Okay. Lead generation we talked about last week is page 137, just so you can reference when that is. That's the actual model right there, diagram. The budget model on page 157. We'll go over the budget next week. And in 2 weeks, the organizational model. Excuse me there. Organizational models on page 202. And organizational model, there are really 3 key elements that people can always be coached in. How to get more leads, how to have a higher conversion rate, and how to get leverage. That organizational model talks about the first step of leverage all the way up to the 7th level, when you can have a real estate team being run by somebody else, and you go out and make other money-making activities, investments, retirement, whatever you want to do after the 7th level. So that's organization. So let's get started here. The formula to success really breaks down into 4 key things. Formula of success is know where you're at all times. Just start with the goal. You have to know where you're going to be at. Okay, so we're going to talk about where you're at right now. Know where you're going to be going. If I were to put you in a plot right in the middle of somewhere and said, go to New York, could you get there? The quick answer is, yeah, you could get there, but not if you don't know where you're at. You don't know if you have to go north, south, east, or west, and know where you're going. Once you get going, or once you know that, then get started. There's a phrase we used to joke about and still do, is people are fixing to get ready to. So don't worry about that. Once you know where you're going, just go get started. Time to get dirty. Undoubtedly, there's going to be some errors. There's going to be some mistakes, some wrong turns perhaps, so be willing and ready to make adjustments often. Diana Kokoska shares with us that when people fly to the moon, NASA, over 98% of the time they're off track going to the moon. And they're constantly making adjustments. So if you look at what that might look like going to the moon, it's probably a lot like this. And what happens if they never made this first adjustment? Deep space, right? So always make those adjustments. This might be just like your business plan. So these could be different conversion rates, percentages, number of leads you need, number of things you can get. So I'm playing with my pen here. I'll stop that, erase these drawings, and get back to it. So make those adjustments. That's your formula to success. Again, this could be in anything. Driving, we've already talked about. Flying to the moon. Weight loss. Know where you're at. Know where you want to be. Get started. Start eating healthy. Go to the gym. Make those adjustments. If you have a goal to lose a pound a week for 52 weeks, and you don't hit that, you can make those adjustments. Is this making sense to you guys? Yep. Cool. Heard a quiet whisper. That's good. 3 key areas. We're looking at the economic model, and it really breaks down to 3 key areas you want to focus on. The numbers you must hit. Running a real estate business can be overwhelming if you let it. So focus on the numbers you must hit. So what are some numbers you might be important for you to hit? This is where the interaction comes in. I think there's some people who are still signing in. So those of you who are here, Kenan, Shannon, what are some numbers you might want to focus on?
Meeting your lead generation goals. If you don't lead generate, then it's pointless.
Right. So is that the time of when you do it, or what's your the number of people you talk to?
I think the number of people you talk to. The time is going to be different for everybody. Everybody's schedule is different. But if you have a goal that you're going to talk to 5 people or 10 people or 20 people, doesn't count, leaving messages for those people.
Awesome. So count the number of contacts. Focus on those numbers. So there's a quote on there from Chris Cormack. It says, we begin with the end in mind. We know the numbers we must hit. We never lose sight of them. And that's what we're going to do, talking about the economic model is really working from the end in mind. How much money do you want to make? How does that convert into the number of units you need to close? Where does your conversion rate go all the way down to the number of people you have to talk to every day? And that's when the term real estate is simple. It's not easy. Comes to term, because being focused, lead generating, making contacts, that's not easy. That takes a lot of discipline, right? But when you can focus on that, that's when you can hit that end goal. Focus on appointments. Oftentimes people tell me, I talk to so many people, I knock on the doors, I talk to everyone in Publix. Are you closing for that appointment? Do they know you're in real estate? So focus on the appointments, because without the appointments, you can't have the closing. And the third one, there it is. If you hit your appointment goal, you'll hit your financial goal. The third one is focus on your conversion rates. And Kenan, you hit that right in the head when you said that. People are going to be different. So let me ask you a question. If I have a 50% conversion rate and you guys have a 75% conversion rate, who's going to do more business? So the answer is whoever can equate to that equation. Number of leads times your conversion rate equals the results. If the person with a 50% talks to twice as many people, they will do more business. So know what your conversion rates are at all time so you can make those adjustments in that formula of success. The NAR stats versus your stats. So a lot of what we'll be doing right here, unless somebody has their numbers with them, is going with the National Association of Realtors stats. and that's for buyers. 80% of the buyers you put under contract will get to the closing table. 20% might fall apart, might lose financing, the short sale might get withdrawn, or something might happen. So 80% will close, 20% will not. 65% of your appointments should go to your contract. Now again, this is the average of the National Association of Realtors, so you might be higher, you might be lower. The important thing is to know what your numbers are. And for sellers, it's just the opposite. 65% of your listings will close. 35% might go withdrawn, might get expired, might get foreclosed on, and that's the average. In this market right now in Orlando, we're seeing that being much higher. The average days in the market might be longer than we expected, which we can talk about that. And then 80% of your appointments, you should get the listing contract. Do those numbers surprise you guys, or do you think that's pretty accurate with what you do? Shannon, I'm seeing a question you might have had. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Oh, 17 listings. What was that in reference to, Shannon? Okay, I'm going to mute her again because she was loud. That's okay. Looks like we're having some technical difficulties, so I'll try to find out what that meant. And you can talk on there, Shannon, if you're. I've got you unmuted. I'm going to work on expanding this out.
It was in response to what numbers should we be focusing on right now. That's one of the numbers that I'm focusing on, trying to hit my numbers for next year. That's what I need to accomplish.
That's your end in mind. Gotcha. Thank you. Perfect. Okay. So numbers to monitor that could affect your goal. Again, there are a number of things that you might look at. The trainings with Ignite, through Bold, through anything else we do, and it can be overwhelming. And there are just a few key numbers that you constantly need to know to keep you on track with your business, with your goals, to make sure you're not going to end up in deep space. You make those adjustments. Know your conversion rates. Who knows your conversion rates right now? What kind of experience do we have on the line here where you can say, I know that I closed this many listings or this many buyers? Anybody have some numbers out there they want to be vulnerable? Let's see, just the comment numbers to focus on. Okay. Conversion rates are important. Know what you are. You can also ask your team leader, whether it be me or somebody else or whoever your broker is, if you're not with Keller Williams, what that's going to be for the office, for your current market, and make sure you work your goals based on the conversion rates. This could be a fallout rate. A fallout rate is those deals that just fall apart at the table. Everything's good to go. You have to clear the contract to close. Moving trucks in the driveway, and then, something happened. Your buyers decided that they'd go out and buy a new car, and now they're just going to get the financing. Fallout rate, expect, unless you have your own number, 10%. If your goal is to close 17, then expect 1.7. You round up and say 2 of them will fall apart. So plan for 19. Your contract to close rate. We talked about those with the buyers and sellers being 65 and 80%. What's your contract to close? How many contracts are you writing that get down to the closing table? That's going to tell you whatever that conversion rate is. Make sure you're at least writing X number of contracts. We'll talk about that. Appointment to contract rate. Are you having a buyer's consultation? And how many of those buyers are writing a contract? And everything's going to work backward, and the number is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's going to be the amount of people you have to talk to, all the way down to database to lead ratio. We talked about that last week a little bit, so who remembers what the have met conversion rate is for database to lead ratio? It is 16.6%, or 1 out of 6 people in your have met. That's the average. What are you getting? The have not met is 1 out of 50, 2%. Internet leads are showing more 1 out of 100, 1%. What are you getting? And you work backwards from there. Other numbers to focus on, what's your average price point? So everyone's going to have a unit goal. You want to have the end in mind. What is that going to give to you financially? What is your average price point? In Orlando, it's about $150,000, up from $130,000 last year. You can do the same amount of work, the same amount of closings, and if you close 20 homes, make an extra $400,000 in volume, or an extra $12,000 just by price point going up. Price point can be significant for you. Average days in the market. If you get a listing and they're not closing but every 9 months, they're sitting out there. It's dead inventory. But if you can close it every 30 days, you can turn them and burn them. Think of that with, simplistic terms of sitting in a restaurant. If you've got a restaurant who can turn and burn customers, they only have a certain amount of tables, they can get a lot more clients. And percentage to your buyers and sellers closed. Right now in business, I've got one of my top agents. There's a lot of buyers. And that's the business model of how he's found. He works a lot from the sphere of influence. He calls people, and then people want to buy, a lot of investors. Now he's working harder because it's actually a ratio of about 3 to 1 or even 4 to 1 of the amount of work you're going to do with listings as opposed to buyers. Do you guys agree with that? Oh, we've got someone else in there. There he is. So keep in mind of what those percentages are. The listings needed formula. This should look familiar to you if you've been in bold. So Shannon, this should look familiar to you from yesterday. And really going to go through this of what it would be like in real life with some conversions. So I'm going to put this over here. This is your listings needed. We just talked about some key numbers you have to take a look at. And we're going to go through this live to do that. So who wants to be a guinea pig and give me some of your numbers? I think, Shannon, you already gave me 17 listings. Do you mind playing along? And I've got you unmuted, so you should be able to talk. Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to play.
We're gonna play. Number of closed transactions you chose to do in 2012. Now, you told me 17 listings, but let's say total units closed. How much is that?
I think my goal was a minimum of 60 transactions.
60.
Yes.
Okay. So with this formula spreadsheet, we're just going to put it up top and take it right here. Remember we talked about that fallout percentage?
Yes.
That's automatically added 6.
Okay.
So you're going to do a minimum of 60. You better get 66 to the closing table.
Okay.
What percentage of your closings you intend to be listing?
Well, so far I'm at 100%, but I've only had 2 transactions this year.
Okay. So 58 more, it could go either way, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of looking at 2013 because I basically am just starting.
Yep, and that's what this is. This is really a little mini business plan. The business plan goes into this a lot more in depth, but this is a good snapshot, and if you follow this, it's really all you need to succeed because it's going to focus on these listings. So are you going to look to have a somewhat balanced business with about 55% listings?
Yes.
That would be the goal? Okay.
Yes, that's cool.
So right here we just do 55%. It adds it up. This tells us 55% of 66 is 36. We've got our fallout rate already included with it. Now comes in the conversion rates. So the conversion rate that you have of listings that actually sell. Now you are 2 for 2.
Mm-hmm.
Have you had any that fallen out, or did you have 3 and then it didn't sell?
Nope.
Okay. So just so we don't have unrealistic expectations, let's use a national average of 80%. What do you say?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay? It does it for us. You need to have 45 listings. 80% of them will close. 36 to the closing table to get your fallout rate to hit your goal.
Okay.
Average days in the market. So this is one of the most, I think, blinded numbers that people don't take into account. I've got agents who have as high as 100 or 286, I believe is the highest, and the Aura average is 87. When you get your listing, you can count on average 87 days later, you're getting at the closing table. Do you have a number that you would like to use, or are you going to use the average?
Well, my number, I pulled my stats today, is 62 days, but let's use the average because I want to kind of plan for that instead.
Okay, so based on your 2, it was 62, so you're beating that curve. You might get that one that's the ugly one that nobody wants to buy and sits in the market, and that's where it's going to skew out. Because you're going to have some that get on and off the market in a matter of days. The cash buyer comes through here. Excuse me, let me get this. There we go, 87. 87 tells us you have an average turnover rate. Every 4 months, you've got to replenish your inventory. That's what that tells us. 365 days in a year, divided by that. Number of listings you must carry active is the key word, is 11 at all times.
Okay.
That's your goal. You do this, everything else falls into place.
Okay.
Do you have any active listings right now?
No. But I have appointments this week.
Fantastic. So that's the 0. When you get those 2 appointments and you list them, you come up here and you go to 2. Now it changes your 9 to bridge the gap.
Okay.
What happens if as soon as you list it, you got a buyer who says, I want to buy it, and it goes pending?
Then I need to replace it.
It goes back to 1, bridge the gap of 10. This is going to change this average to maybe 60. And now what's going to change the bridge the gap? Now you only need 6 active if you can maintain that 60.
Okay.
Right now you're using 87. You need 10. If you start taking a lot of homes that take forever to close and it goes to 180, you need 21.
I see.
This is one of the most crucial numbers that people don't look at. And that's where they look at the end of the month, 9 months, 10 months in, and they say, uh-oh, what happened?
Rick, would you be willing to send us all this Excel file so that we can use this to kind of monitor?
Yep, absolutely. So you're on here. I've already got your email addresses when you registered. I'll make sure you have this, and this needs to be constant. And if I call you up in 3 months or 4 months from now, I say, what's your average days in the market? You know it. So honestly, for you right now, it's right here.
Right.
Because once you have 8 listings and 9 listings, it is going to change.
Right.
What I'd recommend if you're a visionary person, you're a visual person, everyone's visionary, get a board in your office or wherever you work. And don't just put listings or pendings, put active listings.
Okay.
And go 1 through 11.
Okay.
And then go pending listings. And
Okay.
as soon as it goes pending or active with contract, you move it off that. So you constantly look at this blank board of 10 listings you need.
My goal was really derived from what I want to, the dollars I want to make next year, and I tried to work it backwards from there, assuming an average sale and everything. So it's, you know, I need to do this, but I also have a financial goal of what I want to, the dollars I want to have as my income. So.
Yep, which is another huge part of that economic model.
Right.
So we're going to talk about that a little bit right here. Economic model flowchart. This is also on page 181 of the Red Book. But if we were to look at this right now, before anything else happens, in a real estate transaction, one thing happens before anything else. What's that? You meet someone, right?
Yeah.
And forgive my handwriting as I draw and write with his mouse here. Contact. You make a contact with somebody. You meet somebody in an open house, you meet somebody at a seminar, you meet somebody at Publix. One of 2 things happen. What are those 2 things? Assuming you get their information.
Well, I should put them on 33 Touch.
So they go in your database over here. We'll call this just DB. And then sometimes they say, well, I don't have any need for you right now, but here's my information. Keep in touch with me. And sometimes they might go, as a matter of fact, yeah, I'm looking to buy a house, right? They become a lead right off the bat. And then these can interchange as well. They're going to become leads to database. 6 months later, that database might become a lead. That lead might end up being a fake buyer, put them back in the database. This is interchangeable. Or a third thing is they might say, well, I don't really have a need in Florida, but I've got one in New York, and now I can get a referral fee. That's really what happens when you get a contact. Ideally, we're going to go straight down here, and you can see a bridge. That's your lead generation, and now it's your conversions. When you get your lead, what do you do with them? Make that appointment. This is the sloppiest flow chart I've ever seen in my life, but it makes it real. You get that appointment. Now, you told me 55%, 45%.
Yeah.
So that's going to be listings and the buyers, right?
Mm-hmm.
List, buy. And then both of those come down to close deals. This is essentially your business. It breaks it off. And if you notice a common theme, this goes straight down. Everything else is conversion rates. Contacts to leads to appointments to closings. Those are the numbers you focus on. Oops, so how do I get back? I'm stuck in my highlighter now. That's not good. I can't get off of here. Let's see. I'm in trouble. Oh, there, it's gone. Oh, the whole thing's gone. Point being, know those conversion rates. Because you told me that you've got the end in mind. You told me, this is where the technical difficulties come in, that you've got the end in mind of how much financial money?
Do I have to give you the dollar amount?
Well, let's take a nice round number of $100,000.
No, it's bigger. It's 500,000.
Okay, 500,000.
Yeah, but I'm planning on selling expensive property.
What's your average price point?
Well, right now it's probably 180.
Okay.
But my target is 500 to $1 million.
So, are you able to use your budget based on what you would like it to be, or what it is?
What do you mean?
This is your GCI. This is your average price point. Right now, it's 180,000.
Yeah.
Your goal is more like 750,000.
Yeah.
But for right now, if we were to take your GCI into closed volume, you're going to divide that by 3%, right?
Mm-hmm.
That equals 16.6 million.
Mm-hmm.
Let me get up here. You want to do 16.6 million divided by your true average price point right now. It's 93 closings. Equals this divided by this. It's 88 closings.
Okay, I better get busy.
So you can't kid yourself on what you want to do. Now, if this comes true, then you'll be much easier because you can do this 16.6 million divided by your average price point of your goal, and it's 21 closings.
Right.
Until that happens, you don't get to cheat.
No, I know, and that's why I had my goal as 17 listings, because I was trying to use real numbers.
Mm-hmm.
At
Well,
Bosley.
this isn't. Well, 89, go for it. And if you're focusing on 500,000 to 1 million, even better, because this number will make adjustments. Remember that formula of success? You make those adjustments.
Yeah,
Average price point here.
I just told the whole world what my goal is. That's really scary.
And nobody's laughing at you. Oh, Craig kind of laughed at you a little bit, so it is big enough.
I was laughing because it wasn't actually that scary. It was just the fact that now you've admitted it to everybody, you just got to do it.
I think you're accountable now.
Yeah.
89, let's put this right here. 89.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. All it changes is 15. That's it. 15 active listings at all time. You've got 2 coming this week.
Yeah.
If you focus on the end in mind and watch these numbers, it becomes a very easy task. When you look at these numbers, you're saying, oh my goodness. When you look at this number, how you get your 15.
Yeah.
Get started right now and maintain them. That's it.
But just on that point, Rick, is if you look at the 87 of average days on the market, if the listings that are coming into this business are the correct listings at the correct price, you're going to beat the average of Aura. So you're going to be back to your 60 days on the market, 62 days on the market, which is going to change it dramatically. As long as you stay very, very focused and don't take rubbish just to get your 15. If you stay focused on good quality listings at the right price, you're doing less work.
Although at that higher price point, they do take longer to sell.
Yeah, well, you're going to put your averages in respective of what. But I mean, Aura is 87 at all price ranges, so there's your point. But Aura takes into account the bad agents and the good agents. So if you class yourself as a good agent, you're always going to beat Aura.
Yeah.
And that's one of those things. But the most important thing to most agents is when they see the goal of a listing target of 15 inventory, 10 inventory, or whatever, they tend to take anything to fill that number, and all it does is increase the days on the market, which is Rick's spreadsheet is showing you. That's a false economy.
Yep. Yeah, the biggest thing, and I think from both last week and this week, it's so many people either lie to themselves intentionally or unintentionally, and really be real with yourself of who you are. So your goal is $16.6 million, and you sell $180,000 homes. Be real and sell 89.
Yeah.
And when you sell your first 500,000, that sheet might change over here. We're just going to change this number to perhaps only be 75. We're just going to change this number to be 19. And if you're constantly adjusting, constantly making the adjustments, at the end of the year, you know exactly if you're going to hit it or not. You'll be able to make those improvements.
Right.
And just as a point, Rick, this is a very, very light business plan because Rick knows the numbers of my business, and my GCI over 3 years increased by $200,000, but I only increased the units by 16 because I actively worked the average price point up. And so it can happen, and it's a logical business decision to do it. If you make committed efforts towards that, it can make the difference.
Absolutely. Because we're going to talk about that more in the budget model of how to increase revenue and decrease expenses. Probably have Craig tell about his story. But there's certain controllable factors you can do. You can increase your commission. You can increase your price point, increase your units. That's it. That's what's in control. Units we're talking about right now, but that price point and your commission is something else that will also improve that GCI. Okay. Getting back to our PowerPoint over here. Let's see. From current slides. Got rid of my highlighter. So there we are. This was somewhat quick because we had one great person to help us out with examples. Not many other questions came up, which is okay. And this is going to be available for other viewing for people to do if you want to look at it again. It really comes down to real estate is very simple, and you start with the end in mind. Just like Shannon, you've got 89 listings, 15 active at all time. How are you going to get those listings? Break it down your lead generation. To go on 15 listings, how many listing appointments do you have to go on? You know that number?
No.
So that number is 65% according to National Association of Realtors.
Okay.
Okay, so actually when we say 89 units, let me take it back over here again. Let's break this down. You told me you want to do 89 units. Let me do this. Everyone can see it. 89 units.
Mm-hmm.
Not dollar signs. Come on, Rick. I promise I'll get my act together here in a second. To me, it's a live webinar. Okay. Goodness gracious, get off the dollar sign. Anyway, 89 units. 55% of those are going to be listings. 89 times 0.55. 49 are going to be listings. 65% conversion rate. That's what the National Association of Realtors tells us. You will go on 3 and you'll get 2 of them.
Okay.
Tells me you need to get 76 listing appointments.
Okay.
76 divided by 12 is 6.33, so 7 a month.
I can do that.
7 a month, plan for 2 a week, and have a week off.
No.
That's it.
No off. 2 a week.
2 a week.
Every week.
And how many listing appointments do you have this week?
2.
There you go. You're on track. It's that simple. You break it down to it. Now, how are you going to get your 2 listing appointments a week?
Lead generate.
Lead generation model. Your FSBOs, your expireds, your sphere of influence, your farming. And what happens when your conversion rate goes to 80%?
I make more money.
Your 76 turns into 62.
No, I'm not going to lower it. I'm going to keep doing it.
Fantastic. Is it important to know these numbers?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What happens if you're closing 10 homes and 7 of them are buyers? Now you're at 30%. Now you need 89 divided by 0.3. Wow, you need 297 listing appointments to
Okay.
hit your 89 goal. Point being, these are the numbers you have to watch all the time.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yes.
So from current slide, here we are. Future webinars we're talking about. Next week's the budget model. 13th is organizational model. Last week, some people said they suggested for farming. I think that's a great relevant discussion since both have been surrounded about listings. Scripts, objection handling. I'm going to get some guest panelists. I'm going to reach out to some national people who are known for the scripts. Perhaps they've done a family reunion on the panels and on the stage of MegaCamp. Reach out to them and see if we can get some guest scripters in here as well. So 27th will be on there. What have I not answered for you? I know this was somewhat brief, yet it's the numbers that are simplistic, and just go over it and make sure you have it for your else. So what have I not answered for you? Anybody on the call? Okay, what are you guys going to implement?
I'm going to do 2 listing appointments or more every week.
That's it. You just broke down your job. What's your job? To go on 2 listing appointments. So if Thursday you don't have a listing appointment, what's your job?
My job is to lead generate until I get one. 2.
Until you get one. Until you get 2. Absolutely. When you lose focus of that and you allow yourself to get distracted by the stuff, by the 80%, that's when you go on that roller coaster ride, and that's when in October you look back and say, what happened? Look how nice my listing presentation is. I have nobody to show it to. Absolutely. We talked about farming. We talked about scripts. Negotiations was up there. What are some other future webinar topics that you just like to implement or learn about or strategize about? Think creative. Go crazy.
Just Rick, on one of those things, I know Rich at his ALC meeting when business was a bit tight, they broke off and had a 30-minute session about Blue Sky and different ways to lead generate, where to get leads from. And they came up with 25, 30 different methods of lead generating, which blew my mind really, because I could only think of about 4 at the time. So that was quite interesting.
So some creative lead generation. Okay.
It's an amazing, as I asked Rich about it recently, that was when he does his coaching on Friday mornings. I asked him, I said, can you give me some out-of-the-box ideas for lead generation? And he went through it with me as well. And so I've been brainstorming as well to come up with new ideas. That's a wonderful, wonderful topic.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, Maritza actually condensed it down to 20 different ideas and actually sent it out to everybody on kind of a flyer. But they actually came up with about 20, 25 in the meeting, and it was amazing.
Very cool, and I'd love to learn about some of those as well, because I'm sure it'll be new to me, so we can all learn together. I think I feel very relevant, perhaps even more so for me because I'm learning and implementing this technology-based social media, videos, blogs. We could talk about how to link that all together to your business to have technology leverage for you. So we'll keep those on the topic for into December. Implement that formula of success. Know where you're at, know where you want to be, get started. You're already doing it. I'm going to send people on the call a Survey Monkey. I want to make sure these always improve. I want to keep attendance high and keep providing value. So if you guys can give me some honest, constructive, dirty feedback, I'd appreciate that. Again, about me, where you can find me in the office. I'm again talking about social media. I think a lot of way I'm promoting this is through social media. So if you guys wouldn't mind going over here, find me on the Facebook, make a comment about this webinar. You've got a slow computer that's not catching up with everything I want to do. Otherwise, you'd see my YouTube and blog, but we'll keep those intact and do that favor for me. And then, final question is this valuable for you? Who else do you know who I can talk to? Some agents, whether within Keller or not, who would like perhaps some one-on-one coaching, more formula. I'm going to send this spreadsheet to everybody online so you can do this yourself. If you have anybody, agent, anybody else, we don't have to say the name on the national broadcast here, but go ahead and email me or text me, and I'm going to get that back up as soon as my computer decides to unfreeze. And we'll get that taken care of. So we're done a little bit early, about 15 to 20 minutes early, and we'll see you next week with the budget model. Thank you very much, Rick. Thanks for playing. All right, guys.
Thanks a lot, Will.
Thank you.
Thank you.